Hey guys, this will be a map review of Lost Aversion by our one true love, Negative Zero. This one was submitted to the Challenge 1 category of the TeamLiquid Map Contest 12, and it is a solid finalist. It is a very risky finalist, though. We haven't seen like something like this in the past. We wish we had seen it, but only now with the new mineral walls we can just try to play around with like backdoors into the naturals. Avix obviously just read from seeing this, but it is still made it. When it comes to the map itself, it is a very solid one, just like most of what Negative Zero. This is like what he produces. I'm sure that there is like a huge amount of memes that I could make like about all of Negative Zero, like him plagiarizing himself. Oh, also, I'm not sure if you guys are seeing this in a chronological order at all, but I had a concern with a map that Marras submitted. What was the name? I just reviewed it. Rest Calm, that had an area that was similar to this, where some rocks could be placed. I think that something like this might be more interesting. But yeah, anyhow, going back into Lost Aversion itself, this is beautiful. I always hated, despite the fact that StarCraft 2 has two Bespin guys. That I consider that to be like a very like a very blah situation. So just having the single Bespin geyser with in a forward base like this, or the single Bespin geyser in this setup, uses like considerable less space. It is more efficient, and it is just overall better for it just improves our quality of life. So I am very happy that Negative Zero like choose to make it like this, because it is very good. When it comes to this, obviously the most risky thing ever done ever done in the history of like all of StarCraft forever. So in order to like alleviate this risk, I will very much recommend to like duplicate the mineral patches, maybe remove this one and swap it by like some. Oh, I can't select it. Come on, come on, come on. Really? Well, there it goes, finally. Something like that, maybe. Obviously with a better fitting color palette. Something like this, that what RQM did in his map Thunderbird, which I consider to be like probably the gold standard when it comes to us using like mineral patches, something like that. Is it even necessary for us to like use different variations in this case? Because obviously with different variations, I'm just asking because with the different variations, they become like slightly harder to identify which patches are which, right? I don't know. The last thing we want is to have like players mining the wrong mineral patches of sorts. Let's anyhow, I think that spending too much time on this, something like that, maybe. But yeah, anyhow, it really needs to be like highlighted with like probably maybe man-made textures with like some trims along the edges, something that do what RQM did, because it did like a very good job, and it feels what it's asked of this. When it comes to this matter itself, obviously the having 55 resources in it, it is probably like way too high, and it doesn't fulfill like the intended idea of it happening. Oh, also, if you're gonna do this, make sure that it is something like this. Jesus. So units pathing through that very corner won't like just need to mine this middle patch, but still need to mine at least 2. Same in this other side. Something like that. When it comes to that, obviously there is still like a blink risk, but that is like maybe what I really want to see is like a Protoss doing like a proxy gate of sorts, proxy warp gate with like a pylon, a gateway, and just like warping in units in the other side and just rushing in. That will be cool, I guess, just for the memes. Sequencer, if I recall correctly, I was advocating for to use something like this, mineral wall. I recall correctly. Anyhow, that's I think a more solid implementation of it. With 10, all of them has like 10 resources instead of 55. Obviously, two mules will still mine it. I don't think that's too much of a problem, especially like in more late game scenarios. That when obviously when Terran will have like a small energy bank in the mules themselves. So basically, all of the map, all of the balance, all of the talk within it just depends in if this feature works or not. Anyhow, I did do the same here. The map itself doesn't have, like most of the finalists, doesn't have like concerns in the back of the middle line with cannon rushes. The main base is like very solid. There was for other like finalists and non-finalists, there was the concern that maybe Terran players wouldn't be able to set up their barracks, factory, and starport in this fashion, while having a space around where units can pass across the top between the starport and the town hall. That is something that guys should like be more watchful of, especially going in the future, and if they will use like more compact main bases. But that isn't the case in here, so that's a bonus. The distance between the natural and the third is like quite the standard, so that's fine. In the other case, also that's also fine with the alternative third. I just love that there are like 3 optional thirds. That's always like neat to me to see. One thing that I'm not a particularly fan of, it is the center itself. I don't think that this very center yes, you already probably guess what I'm probably like trying to advocate for. I'm not gonna force it down people's throats, but I think that this actually works like rather well, especially for this map in particular. RQM did the thing with like having the 2 central ramps and having like the 5 middle patches. I think that is neat, but I wouldn't advocate like -0 to do it, because it might just make it like slightly uninteresting naturally, like to have 2 maps that are like based on each other in such a way. But it is still like something that might be like cool to do in the future. Also, it will increase the scouting distance probably slightly too much. When it comes to this, there is like not much else that I can say, even because it is a very solid map. Maybe ovipods, maybe, as you guys can see, there is like not many. There is like this dead end space. Maybe this biodam could be like a risen in height alongside with the cliffs itself, in order to create like a small ovipod in there. The corner bases, they are like alright, if not albeit boring. So generally what I recommend in these situations to fix it is to make something like that, maybe. It also takes the bonus that it makes the fourth like easier to take in this map, but I'm not entirely sure. That would be really neat to left to negative to decide. What the reason why I'm doing this, what I'm recommending this to a degree, it is because this area is like having 2 ramps to it is like dull basically. Even just having like 1 3-sided ramp as the music or as ICL did it might be actually more acceptable, because having 2 ramps is just redundant. When it comes to the rest of the map, obviously, as I was mentioning in other -0 map, making sure that the doodads that are used in this situation like actually fit the size of it, of the little high ground. The line of sight blockers alongside the edges obviously still helps, so I don't think that this is like too much of a priority, if at all. But that's like something that I really need to mention to drive home. Anyhow, that is basically it. It is like a very solid map, which I think can become even more solid with changes done specifically to this, which is the linchpin that holds the entire map together. So something to look into the future. Yeah. Oh, there isn't like much else that I can mention in openness and pathways and accessibility. Oh, right. Maybe to the center, as I was mentioning, instead of making it as with like actual rocks, the could like be accented. That's what I like basically most interested on, trying to accent this central choke point, or at least trying to accent the two side choke points between the corners of the ramps. Anyhow, guys, I think that will be basically it be for Loss Aversion, and see you in the next one. This was Loss Aversion by Negative Zero, one map submitted to the Challenge 1 category with the Mineral Walls for TeamLiquid Map Contest 12. See you guys in the next map reviews.